Okay, this next part of the main solo starts up on the 21st fret with a kind of half bend, and this is where the kind of the atmosphere of the song changes from quite happy sounding to very sort of dark and unhappy sounding, if you like. So let me just play the next phrase and then we'll break that down. So here we go. Okay, so we're going up to the 21st fret on the high E string, and we're going to have a half bend, and then let it back down to its original pitch. Then we're going to have another half bend on the 14th fret on the high E string, and then we're going to let that down. Then we're going to pull off to 12 on the high E, then hammer on 15 on the B. Then we're going to have 15, pull off to 14, pull off to 12 on the B, then slide up from 14 on the high E to 17, then back to 14 again. So we're going to have Then this next passage is a fairly complicated legato section, which kind of involves accenting in certain places, so you kind of have to get it fairly spot on for it to kind of fit with inside jamming with the track. So at a slow tempo it should look like this. Okay, this is going to start with a half bend on the 19th fret on the high E, and then we're going to pull off to the 7th fret on the high E, hammer on 10 on the B, then play 7 on the high E again. So we're going to have then we're going to hammer on the 10th fret on the B, and then we're going to pull off to 8, pull off to 7, hammer on 8, and then hammer on 10 again. So we're going to have then when we get to 10, we're going to pull off to 8 and then 7 again. Then we're going to hammer on the 9th fret on the G, pull off to 7 on the G, pull off to 6 on the G, then re-hammer on 7, and then kind of hold on 9 on the G very briefly. So we're going to have Okay, this next position shift, depending on how you play, you can either play with your first, third and fourth fingers. I'm choosing it to play with my first, second and third fingers just because they kind of work better together, and I've got a fairly big stretch between my first and second finger. But the frets are going to be 7, pull off to 6, pull off to 4, hammer on 6 again, and then hammer on 7, like that. So the whole phrase using legato should sound like this. Okay, one thing I noticed actually playing that is I'm actually using my second and first fingers to kind of pull off and slide into the 4th fret, and then using my second finger to re-hammer on the 6th fret and then the 7th fret. So let's just have a look at that again. Then at the end of that, we're going to pull off from 7 to 6 to 4 on the G again. Then we're going to hammer on the 7th fret on the D, pull off to 5 on the D, and then pull off to 4. Then when we get to the 4th fret on the D, we're going to slide up to the 5th fret, and then we're just going to hammer on 7, 9, then pull off to 7, pull off to 5, and then slide down to 4 again. So we're going to have so. Then to finish off this lick, we're going to have hammer on 7 on the A, then pull off to 5 on the A, and then finish up with a pinch harmonic on the 4th fret on the A. So the whole legato passage should sound like this, slow. Okay, now for the next part, we're just going to be going back up to the 21st fret on the high E string with a half bend again. So we're just going to bend it up half step and then let it down again. Then we've got this next run like this. Again, with the fingerings for this, it's entirely up to you what you do. You could probably choose to play this starting with your 1st and 3rd, and then using your 1st, 2nd and 4th fingers to play the remainder. And then 1st, 3rd and 4th. Just for me personally, I just find it was a lot cleaner to play this with my 1st, 2nd and 3rd fingers, so you know, whatever feels comfortable for you. Okay, the notes for this are going to start on the 12th fret on the A with a hammer onto the 14th fret. With this kind of run, it's just going to help to keep the continuity of it just by picking every time you go to a new string. So first off, we're just going to start with a downstroke on the A, hammer onto the 14th fret. Then we're going to go to the D string and play 11, 12 and 14. We're just going to do a down pick on 11 and then hammer on 12 and 14. Then the same on the G string. Then when we get to the B string, we're going to pick the 12th fret, hammer onto 14, hammer onto 15, then pull off from 15 to 14, then 14 to 12. So we'll have... So far we've got this. Then to finish off this run, we're going to have a pull off from 14 to 12 to 11. Then what I've done is I've just kind of used my 2nd finger that's already hovering over the 12th fret and then sliding it up to the 15th fret to kind of finish it off. And that's on a G string. So that run again, slow. Okay, then after that, we're just going to go to the 12th fret on the B string. Then let that kind of ring out a little bit, and then towards the end, pick it again. Then we've got a half bend on the 14th fret on the high E. Then we're going to slide into the next 2 notes. It doesn't really matter where, as long as it's fairly quick. So we're going to be sliding into the 11th fret on the G. Then the next note we're going to be doing the same technique again, but sliding into the 9th fret, and that's going to be on the A string. So that phrase again. Then we're going to go to the 14th fret on the B and bend it up a half step. Then let it down. Then pick the 12th fret on the B. And then we've got another half bend on the 14th fret on the high E. Then let it down. Then we've just got a series of kind of quite quiet pull-offs. On the record, it seems like he's only pulling off to the kind of 7th fret on the high E string, but I've kind of added in the resolve, which is going to bring us into the next bit. So it should sound like this. Okay, so starting with the half bend on the 14th fret on the high E, you're going to pull off to 12, slide down to 11, slide down to 9, slide down to 7, then we're just going to finish on slide down to the 6th fret, and then finish on the 7th fret.